Welcome to the 21st century, a concrete landscape of urbanization, non-stop traffic, and noise. But what if it didn't have to be this way? See, there comes a point in every one of our lives where we just want to let go, to be done with all the stress life throws at you, and to just leave it all behind, once and for all. Which brings us to Red Dead Redemption 2. Bang, 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 kill, kill, kill. The wild, wild west in all its glory. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Today's topic of the day is escapism. But first, some background. The story of this game focuses on a gang that's constantly on the run, escaping from place to place in order to evade the law. They're a group of misfits, sold on a dream that they hope will take them out of their suffering. But they're not just running from the law, they're running from time itself. These are outlaws at the very end of the Wild West, in an age where civilization is changing, evolving far too quickly for them to adapt in, and ultimately, they are helpless to stop it. But above all else, the thing they're running from the most isn't the law, it isn't time, they're running from themselves. I think about this a lot because, on some level, I relate to this a lot more than I'd like to admit. I am also someone who runs away from his problems. I'm very much someone who lives in the past. I feel like my glory days are coming to an end, and that my time to make the most of them is running out. And the only way I know how to deal with that reality is to not deal with it. See, escapism is a topic I have a complicated relationship with. I engage in escapism every single day, and I think, on some level, I've done this my entire life. Whether it's daydreaming at school, focusing a little too much on my Minecraft realm, or even making YouTube videos. I like to submerge myself into these different realities, to tell myself stories, or to have them play out in front of me. It's my way of living. But I think something I've come to realize as I've gotten older is that as much as it's my way of living, it's also my way of running away. But I guess the question this leads me to ask myself is, what exactly is it that I'm running from? And by extension, what are you running from? I don't really have a concrete answer to this. To be honest, I don't know if I ever will. But I do know that Red Dead 2 has gotten me to the closest thing I have to an answer. And it starts with this. This game and the world it places you in is infinitely more simpler than the one we actually live in. Beyond the prologue, you don't have to do anything the game tells you to do. Sure, it would help, but if you just want to spend your time gunning down entire villages, then that's your God-given right, goddammit, and nobody can take that away from you. But you can also just spend your time exploring, taking in the wildlife, or taking out the wildlife. You can be a part of this perfect little world, and for a moment, for one small moment, you can forget entirely that none of this is real. But then you play the story. You become the rugged outlaw with a heart of gold. You rob that train, you fight the law, you see your family slowly destroy itself. You become Arthur Morgan. A man who's running from his own demons, sold on that same dream of a better tomorrow. And throughout the game, we see his struggle to fight those demons, and his struggle to redeem himself of the irredeemable. He is a man wrestling with change, and he's also a man blind to the change that's happening right before his eyes, romanticizing a past that was never truly that golden to begin with. That's something I think about often with this game. We spend so much of the story reminiscing on the good old days, but we never got to see them. We never see the true Wild West in the Red Dead franchise, and I imagine that's by design. We hear all about it through the lens of our characters. We're told of these legendary gunslingers and all of these wacky and wonderful stories, and yet, in reality, we could probably speculate that this past that our characters can't seem to let go of was likely just as terrible and bloody as the reality they're currently living in. The only difference now is that their time is running out.
Feels like things have changed. The whole world's changed. But they don't want folk like us no more.
We're thieves in a world that don't want us no more.
The whole world's changing. Even I see that now. Our time is pretty much past.
And then, there's the character who's running more than anybody else. His past, his present, and ultimately himself. And his name is Dutch.
We are dreamers in an ever duller world of facts. Now, I'll give you that.
We are gonna make it. We have a plan.
We are gonna leave this place, and we are gonna find our own paradise, the real New World.
So, let's talk about it. Dutch is the antithesis of this idea that the time of outlaws is at its end. His existence is a contradiction to the time he's living in. He will never fit in the new world because he is incompatible with it. But unlike Arthur, who is a man who stops running, faces himself head on and ultimately does change, and also unlike John, who at the very least tries to change, Dutch is a man who knows he can't change and is too far gone to the point of even wanting to. He knows what he is and on some level has made some peace with it. And the paradox of Dutch is that he's running more than anybody else. He's the one selling the dream to the lost souls of this gang. He's the one marching them from place to place, dancing around with his unmatched charisma, holding together the only semblance of a family that he's ever had. His entire existence is an act of rebellion against the system in place, the ever-changing times. He will never fit in the new world because he ultimately loves what he is. He loves the freedom, the chaos, the disorder, but the problem of Dutch is that he needs to drag everybody else down to fit his ideology. He can't live this fantasy without the rest of the gang to fulfill these desires, because without them, without his family, he's just this sad old man standing at the top of some mountain alone with his gold. And when he's at this stage, he is more unhinged than ever. I mentioned earlier that John is a man who tries to change, but like Dutch, I also see him as a man who's constantly running. At the start of the game, John is pathetic. He's a liability that isn't there for his family, and ultimately just gets himself into trouble, which leads to everybody else having to quite literally drag him out of it. By the end of the game, we're presented with an entirely different person. We're shown a man who is now responsible for his family and is actually trying to provide for them. In this instance, I would say that he has changed, but the problem of John is his very struggle with that change. Having joined the gang at the age of 12, being an outlaw is all he's ever known. He was raised by outlaws, so it's no surprise that at his core, that's all he will ever be. And yet, by the end of the game, we see him set aside his guns in order to live a peaceful life with his family, and for a time, he does make this work. He gets a job on the ranch, slowly earning enough money so he can buy a ranch of his own, and yet, on one bad night, the ranch gets attacked, leaving John with a choice. Does he stand aside and let these criminals come onto the ranch, take the livestock and go? Or does he step back up, take out his rifle, and defend the ranch? He goes right out there and fights them off as he should. But that's not where the problem starts. The issue with what he did isn't that he went out there and shot them all to oblivion. No, the problem is that he liked it. He loved it even, because that's what he is. He is the outlaw. If the killing stopped there, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But it didn't stop there. He becomes the gunslinger time and time again after this, because while John is a man who wants to change, who's shown that he can grow and become more responsible, he's also a man that fundamentally can't change. He is a man at odds with his nature. Unfortunately, I relate to these characters. I relate to this game, because like them, all of my life I've been running away from something. My mistakes, my regrets. I have been trying and failing to fight my nature my entire life. I've been lazy, I've struggled with addictions, I've been a shitty friend to people who've needed me. And with all of those shitty things I've done, it's all been in service of running away from something. I just never really figured out what that was until now. You know, I used to think it was just about running away from my problems, my issues, trying to find a better reality to escape in. But what's funny is that by doing just that, by escaping into a different reality with Red Dead 2, it actually helped me figure out what it was I was running from. It's everything. Everything good, everything bad in my life, my fears, my insecurities, the numerous unread messages on my phone. And that's what I mean. I seem to run away from even the best parts of my life. For some reason, I'm just drawn to this chaos. I have this need to self-destruct everything and just run away into some cabin on a field somewhere, to truly just leave everything behind and be done with it. But then I realized that running away into some cabin, it won't solve anything, because like Dutch, John, and Arthur, the thing I keep running from is myself. So, how do you carry that weight? I don't know. I guess you keep going. You look at what you are, the things you've done, the choices you've made, and you accept that there are some things you just can't change, because while it's true that you can't escape your past, and I really believe that too, I think the decisions, everything good, everything bad, all of your regrets and wrong turns are something you can never truly hide from. I do think that you can carry that weight to someplace better, to learn and grow and fundamentally develop into a better person. This game and its characters give me hope that I can be better, that I can do better. I see Dutch's story and I just know that that won't be how it goes for me. But on the other hand, I see John's story and I think that could easily be me. I could be the one at constant odds with myself, trying and failing to fight my nature, because that's how it is for me right now. That's how it has been for a long time. But then, I look at Arthur, and I hope that maybe, just maybe, I can change. Maybe I can be a better friend to those around me. Maybe I can right some of those wrongs, rebuild bridges, make up for lost time. But in the end, none of that will matter if I don't get up and actually do something about it. And I guess that's all I have to say. Take care.
I'm a poor lonesome cowboy, poor lonesome cowboy. I'm a poor lonesome cowboy, long way from home.